Hey guys, we're going to do a full day concealer wear test today. I have the fairly new KJAER WEIS concealer. It comes in this beautiful red box and I have it in the shade F120. So I'm going to be applying it, giving you my first impressions, and then we're going to do a full day wear test with it. I'm really excited. And I also purchased another newish KJAER WEIS product. This is their Flush and Glow in Luminous Flush. So we'll also be playing with that product. But let's go ahead and start with the concealer. I already have my primer and my foundation down. I've just put on what I've been wearing a lot lately, which is my Pkwy Ultra Sun primer. It has an SPF 45. I've put that down as a primer, and then I have the Just Skin tinted moisturizer in vanilla from Pkwy. I have that down as well. It's just been my go-to kind of base product lately, so I thought I would just start there and then we can dive into the concealer. So I purchased this off of Beautylish, and I'll have the details for the price and the exact name and the shade that I have down below my description box. So definitely check down there because I don't remember the price, but it comes in the beautiful, you know, signature KJAER WEIS red box. If you weren't aware, KJAER WEIS is a 100% certified organic brand, and so they also pay very close attention to their packaging and, you know, its recyclability, its reusability. So all of their packaging is recyclable, and they make as much of their like products reusable. So this concealer, for instance, you can purchase just a refill of the actual concealer, and then this cap, which is incredibly weighty, is actually reusable. So I'm sure there's more information on the KJAER WEIS site, which I'll also link down below, and more information on the Beautylish site. But this is the shade that I got. Again, it's F120, and I think this should work for me, but let's go ahead and apply it. So the wand, typical kind of doe foot applicator. I'm just going to dab a little bit underneath my eyes here. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my finger. I wanna see how it blends in. Oh, well, very easily. That was really fast. Okay. A+ for blendability. Wow, that's gorgeous. Okay. The texture is very interesting. I don't know if you guys can see it through the camera. At first I thought maybe it was like a little dry looking, but it's actually kind of moussey. So it almost looks like it's whipped. Do you see that texture? That's really nice. That's probably why it blended in so easily. But I'm gonna just take a little bit more off the back of my hand here and kind of bring it down a little bit. I'm looking really tired this morning. I fell asleep last night at like 7 at night. I just fell asleep in front of the TV and I just never recovered. It was not a nap. I was just down for the evening, and so I woke up at like 3 this morning. Anyway, so I'm looking really tired. Really great day actually to do a concealer test. Wow, that looks nice. Hold on, I need a close look. This shade is not exactly brightening. I think it actually works really well with my skin tone, but it's not brightening. And if you like a brightening kind of effect around your eyes and you have a similar skin tone to mine, you may want to try something a little bit lighter than this F120. This one is kind of just like a really good match, almost in the same way as like my Dior 2N. This one isn't necessarily brightening, but I think it does a really nice job just making my skin tone very even, like with the rest of my face. So I want to say the coverage is very natural. I want to say it's like a light medium for a concealer, and it looks fantastic so far. It looks like I don't even have concealer on. I'm gonna put some on my lid. I just want to see how it looks up there. I do like putting concealer on my lid. I have, you know, a little bit of discoloration, and I think it always makes for like, you know, a nice kind of like eyeshadow primer. Oh, that looks great too. It has a really nice finish. It's so interesting because there's no shine to it, but I wouldn't actually call it matte. It's almost just kind of this soft, like velvety kind of finish. Wow, this is probably the most unique concealer texture I've ever used. I've never used a concealer that's quite as like moussey or whipped as this. I'm going to apply some to this side, but I do want to try it with a brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply some directly from the applicator underneath my eye. And I'm gonna use one of my favorite concealer brushes. This is a Trish McEvoy Deluxe Blender 55. This is Sable Hair. And I'm just going to tap it in. Interesting, it's not actually blending that well with the brush. So I'm gonna go back in with my finger. Oh yeah, it blends beautifully with the finger. So I would definitely recommend just using your finger with this. I wonder if it's because of this unique moussey texture, if it just really needs like the heat from your fingertips and also just kind of this like wide surface area that your fingertip has versus a brush. And just even things out by putting some on my other lid. All right, I'm gonna zoom in here just so you guys can hopefully see a little bit better what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm hoping you guys can see the finish that I'm talking about, where there's really no shine or radiance, but it also doesn't look matte. I just think it looks like just this very kind of like a soft, velvety texture. It's so interesting. So that's definitely my first observation. My second one is it does a really nice job blurring my under eyes. I think that probably has a lot to do with that finish that I'm talking about. Because it has that like softness to the texture, I feel like it's actually like doing this soft blurring effect underneath my eyes. So with that little bit that I put on, I do want to say that I just kind of have like a light medium kind of coverage. So I'm going to go in with another layer just on this eye to see if we can build it up. I know a lot of you, obviously for concealer, you want a little bit more coverage. With just a little bit more, and I'm just going to continue using my finger. I really like this the best. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, I feel like now I have like a medium coverage. So this is definitely buildable. I don't feel like the, you know, like the layers are like interfering with each other. I just feel like the two layers now are just building really nicely, one on top of the other. Oh wow, that looks really perfected. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in again so you can see the difference between 2 light layers and 1 light layer. Definitely buildable, right? There's a lot less coverage here. You can still see like the little bit of discoloration that I have down here. It's still kind of there, but I feel like this side is definitely camouflaged. And I feel like the soft focus effect is even stronger. I feel like this under eye looks even more blurred. Okay, I'm gonna add another light layer underneath this eye. Oh wow, yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. I am really, really excited to see how this wears throughout the day. I'm going to add a little bit of this to my face since the shade is like a very good match for my face as opposed to it being brightening. So I'm going to add some around my nose. And again, I'm just going to use my finger. I feel like I just barely smell something. It doesn't really smell like fragrance. It kind of just smells like makeup, but not in a bad way. Maybe almost like a little bit sweet. Huh. Very, very faint. I like just noticed it because I was putting it on around my nose. All right, there it is around the tip of my nose. I think it's fine. I think it looks fine around there. I don't think it's like blowing my skirt up down here. It's really blowing my skirt up in terms of underneath my eyes, but it's definitely doing the job down here. Again, we'll have to see how long it lasts around my nose, but let's go ahead and I'm trying to think. This is a cream product, so let me just show you what this is. This is the Flush and Glow. There's, I think, 4 shades of this, or 4 combinations, I should say, and I got Luminous Flush. So this is a combination of like bronzer and blush, and then I saw one combination was like a blush and highlight, but I decided to go with this one. I don't know why. I really wanted to get all 4, but I just want to quickly mention that on the KJAER WEIS site, she has come out with new packaging, which is very close to this. So it's like cardboard packaging for these products instead of these like heavy metal packages, which are refillable. It's like this red kind of cardboard packaging. That kind of packaging seems to only be available on the KJAER WEIS site, and they're all sold out, but they had them available in this packaging. But I really wanted to try her newer packaging. It's, you know, lighter, it's recyclable, all those things, but it's all sold out. So that's why I only got this one. I figured maybe when she restocks the other ones, I'll get the other 3 combos because I really like them all. So we're starting off with this one, and again, this one is called Luminous Flush. I've been really enjoying putting cream products on top of powder, so I think I am going to powder my face very lightly, but I think what I'll do is leave one under eye unpowdered because I do want to see if I don't powder it, is it going to crease? Is it going to fade? I do feel like there are some concealers out there that actually do a little bit better, at least for me, without any powder, and I know a lot of you out there don't like to use powder. You find it looks very drying on your skin, so I definitely want to do a little bit of a test without powder. So I'm going to powder my entire face except for my left under eye here. Unfortunately, I don't have any KJAER WEIS powder, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my Dior Skin Mineral Nude Matte Powder. I have this in the shade 2. I mentioned this powder in my favorite, so I'm just going to go in with this powder, and again, I'm going to powder this eye. I'm going to avoid this under eye. All right, so far, really, really wonderful. All right, let's go in with this Flush and Glow, and let me swatch these for you first. So, oh, interesting. What I think or thought of as a bronzer is really, really quite warm. So that's what's over here is like the bronzier side, and then there's the blush. I think that could be a little bit too warm for me. I think actually I could use this as a blush. That would be a beautiful blush because it's so peachy. And the texture of these is almost like they have a little bit more of like a spongier effect than her cream blushes. Here is one of her cream blushes. I don't know if you'll be able to see it actually through the camera, but I don't know if you can see like the texture on the Flush and Glow. It looks like a little bit spongier. So I find the finish of it to be a little bit less like emollient looking than the cream blush. Let me actually swatch this cream blush. Yeah, the cream blush is like creamier. Do you see that? How it's like, there's that emollience there, and then these look just a little bit more matte. I mean, that one has some metallic sheen to it, but the actual formula is a little bit more matte than the cream blush. So I think what I'm gonna do for purposes of this video is try one on each cheek just so we can see the difference. So I'm gonna first go in with this bronzier side and just tap that onto my cheek. Wow, that really turns into just like a lovely blush, right? Doesn't that look like a bronzer in the pan? But on the cheek, it really just looks like a peachy blush, at least on my skin tone. It blends in beautifully with my finger. I'm just gonna add a little bit more to like the apples of my cheeks here. But yeah, these definitely have a little bit more of like a velvety finish versus the cream blush. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the more blushy looking blush and apply it to this side. I'm gonna make sure I use a different finger. Oh yeah, this is definitely brighter, pinkier. All right, so there's like the pinkier blush, and then there is the more bronzy looking blush. Wow, I like them both. I like how easy they were to apply. I do think the like peachier side, the texture of it is a little bit creamier. I don't know if you guys can see that in the pan, but like, do you see how I could lift up more product there? Like it just looks a little more emollient, and this side just looks a little bit drier. So I do feel like there's a little bit of a difference between the two shades. Not that that's, you know, good or bad. It's just something I wanted to point out. Well, I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised that both of these products actually work as blush for me, because now I can just think of this product as a blush. When I have like two products in one, sometimes I just feel like I like the bronzer more than the blush, and then I end up just using the bronzer and I never use the blush even though the blush is fine. I don't know if I'm weird in that way, but I like just thinking of this as a blush, and I could probably just mix the two together and it would be fine. In fact, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna go in with the pinkier one and put it over the bronzier one. Oh, look how pretty that is. It gives you kind of like this nice pop here, and then you get the little bit of a warmer blush kind of coming up. Ooh. All right, and then I'm gonna add the bronzier side to this side. I'm just gonna add it to the back and maybe underneath. Really pretty. So, I'm gonna go ahead and just apply some light makeup, you know, and just add some like lips and brows and stuff. But let's go ahead and take a look at my first check-in. Hi, so we're doing this check-in in front of my window, so we're using some natural light. This concealer, it's not holding up that well, unfortunately. So it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. It's been about 4 hours since my initial application, and I was just taking a close look, and I'm gonna zoom you guys in. Hopefully you guys can see, but it looks like the concealer looks like it's kind of like pooling over here. And this is the side that I powdered. This is the side that I didn't powder. And both sides are kind of doing the same thing. Like it's kind of creasing on my lid. I didn't put any eyeshadow on. I just put that powder down around this eye. I do have a little bit of mascara down, but like no eyeshadow. It's just looking like it's separating a little bit. And it also looks like it's kind of sinking into my fine lines a bit, which is not so great, but I'm just hoping you guys can see like right on the outer corner here, like it looks like it's like kind of separating and pooling and kind of creasing like all at the same time, like right over here. I really hope you can see that. It's hard for me to tell in the viewfinder whether or not it's like clear enough. So that's not great. I will say though, if you're someone that like pats your makeup down during the day, you'll very quickly kind of like fix the problem. Because as soon as I kind of pat over the concealer, everything seems to fall in line, both sides, whether it's been powdered or not powdered. I feel like as long as I do this, it kind of like resets it all. But the fact that I have to do that is not so great. Also around my nose here, my nose is definitely the oiliest spot on my face. It's very, very warm outside today. It's about 110 degrees. I did have a mask on, so I was kind of steaming this part of my face, but it is kind of separating and fading around there. I think it's a little bit to be expected, unfortunately, with the mask and this weather and everything, but yeah, it's kind of doing that around my nose. And like I said, around my eyes, not looking flawless, not looking as flawless as it did when I put it on until I kind of pat it down. So unfortunately for this first check-in, this concealer for me is not holding up that great either side. The side that I powdered, the side that I didn't powder, they're both kind of behaving the same way. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at my final check-in. Hey guys, it is 6 o'clock in the evening. I've had this concealer on for an additional 4.5 hours. So I've had it on for a total of 8.5 hours. And since the check-in, there really hasn't been that much improvement. In fact, I was actually just, you know, checking out the situation and I was like, oh, I think this looks a little bit better. But in fact, I think it looks better because a lot of it has just simply worn off, unfortunately. And what is left over, again, I still kind of feel like I see, I don't know, just kind of streaks of it and little pooling, little separation of it. I think what I'm going to do actually is turn down the exposure on my camera so maybe you can see it a little bit better, and I'm going to zoom in. So I'm just wondering if you can see like the separation and the texture that's going on underneath the eyes. And at this corner you'll see some, you know, like creasing, I guess you could say, creasing, and just some overall like wearing away of it and not evenly. It just, yeah, it just looks kind of funky. Like it just kind of settled into places and then it just wore away unevenly. So that is unfortunate. As you guys know, I really love KJAER WEIS's products. I have a lot of them and they've always worked out really well for me. So I did have high hopes for this concealer, but unfortunately it went on beautifully. It went on just so flawlessly, but it just didn't wear well. So that's the concealer. And then for this Flush and Glow, I think that is actually worn nicely. I think it looks really beautiful on the cheek still. You can still see it there. I think maybe it's worn away a little bit. I've put on my face mask probably 4 times today, on and off. So I think that's pretty good. My face mask definitely like covers this whole area here. So I think the fact that it's withstood that I think is a very good sign. And I really love the finish of this. Like I had mentioned in the intro, I find it's just a teensy bit less emollient than the cream blushes. And as much as I love the cream blushes, and her cream blush is probably one of my favorite all-time cream blushes, I think this is a nice change. It has more of like a velvety kind of finish, and maybe that's what helped with the staying power in terms of my face mask. I don't really know, but I think it did a really good job. I think it still looks really great on my cheeks. So big thumbs up for this. And again, the colorway that I have is Luminous Flush. So that is it for my wear test of the new KJAER WEIS concealer and Flush and Glow. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Please subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.